about or don't implement, but a really, really strong comp. So Zico, looking at these teams so far, I'm going to kind of put you on the spot. Like, which one do you think is going to be making it all the way, or at least to the finals?
That's tough. Wait, let me check. Okay, I had to look. When you said looking at these teams, I was like, okay, looking at my mic, is it muted? It is not. I mean, heading into this tournament, I would say HAHAHA or Mir's team. I would say those two teams are the favorites. Maybe the Warrior Lock Druid that we just saw with Genghis and Spank and Mirox, maybe those guys as well could make a really deep run and maybe even take down the whole thing. But those three teams is what I would guess at. But after having kind of had a chance to see everybody play, I would say Genghis team.
Okay, yeah, looks like a full sap on a Rudy here. Avazura getting aggressive here on the pink. Got pulled out of stealth in the opener, but still lots of pressure on the pink here. Oh my god, so much damage. Let's go down right. What? Wow. Okay. Shaman got caught in that polymorph there, and just Warlock just evaporates in front of our faces. Okay.
Oh man,
that was a quick one. That was a quick one.
Yeah, another quick one.
That was a quick one.
So who do you think is going to win the tournament? Oh, he's dead.
Yeah. I mean, we're definitely get a chance to take a look at the replay. I feel like mistakes were made in this one. Absolutely. I mean, I don't think the game should really end that fast, but maybe not that fast. Here, Zico.
Yeah, let's have a look. Okay, so we got a sap onto Rudy, full sheep here secured onto Daily, and at this point, I mean, the Warlock has to dispel it or the Priest has to dispel it, but he doesn't get the Fel Hunter dispelled. The Fel Hunter was actually in a Nova there, I believe, and also the Nova did not break. So Pink's pet here is awfully positioned. It's right on top of him. You should park it in Daily's line of sight. He could actually. He did actually dispel. Oh. Yeah, he should have waited 2 seconds with that Fel Hunter dispel. The Nova would have ended, and he would have actually gotten the sheep 100% there. So this is what we were talking about when it comes to TBC. It's all about those split-second decisions right there. The mage Nova the Shaman to be able to get into his line. Obviously, Shamans can't dispel that Nova, so he Novas him, gets the sheep. That Nova has 2 or 3 seconds left before it runs out. But when the Fel Hunter dispels, it only removes 1 debuff. So you have a Nova with 2-3 seconds left on it and a full sheep. You can go for the 50-50 if you think you're just going to die in those 3 or 2 seconds before the Nova fades. Or if you're looking healthy, you can wait until it's just 1 debuff and get the guaranteed dispel. There, I would say, unfortunately, Pink did the wrong call right there, and he had to pay for it with his life.
That's exactly what we saw. So, I mean, Shadowplay, we threw some criticism their way in terms of their positioning and kind of the way they're using their cooldowns. We'll have to see on Ruins of Lordaeron. This seems to be their kind of pocket pick, going to Ruins of Lordaeron. Sid, I'm sure you're happy about this one, but what do we want to see from Shadowplay to really kind of bounce back in this one?
I mean, again, it's kind of positioning. It seems like in that map, the Shadow Priest wasn't in line if he even wanted to try and dispel the polymorph from the Shaman. And then the Warlock got unlucky with the pet dispel, which he could have waited. I mean, they still have Death Coil. They still have Hellstone too as backup heals. Felt like they had a couple of options there that they needed to cover, and maybe they got frustrated by the dispel not landing on the polymorph or something. And then they thought they could be greedy, but then they just got overwhelmed. But they definitely had more options than that. Stacking up is going to be bad, though, if they get triple Psychic Scream. It seems like HAHAHA. One of the main difficulties for them is the totems. So kind of working through Poison Cleansing Totem, making sure that's gone when you're doing your go, because it's going to remove the stacking wound poison, killing any preemptive tremor totems to try and deny any sort of Psychic Scream denial from the Shadowplay. As long as HAHAHA are navigating those totems, though, it's going to be really difficult. Shadowplay on this map, we haven't seen anybody try and camp the room yet. And I kind of feel like they should just camp the room with Paranoia and just wait for the mage at least before coming out of the room and starting the match.
Yeah, I mean, definitely an interesting strategy. I kind of wonder what HAHAHA would do in that situation. I mean, they could just sit back. Maybe eventually even, I mean, Avizur could, vanish for that improved stealth, go in and get a sap, and they could kind of just all in like that. But, I mean, in that opener, it might look funny that Dally didn't end up using his trinket. But the problem is, I feel like if he has to trinket that polymorph early and then he gets caught into a full blind into a sap, they're just going to automatically lose the game anyway. Yeah. So it's kind of one of those things where, you're danged if you do, danged if you don't. So you really, really have to just kind of rely on that dispel from your priest or warlock on that initial polymorph.
The problem is Daily I mean, he might get sheep shotted into a sheep, or he might have to walk where he gets feared into a sheep. Like you can't guarantee that he's gonna just defend himself from getting sheeped. The real issue for them was that the Shadow Priest was also cross crowd controlled in that opener. They had a sap on the Shadow Priest into the cheap shot sheep on the Shaman, and they didn't get the dispel there, so it's just a perfect storm there for HAHAHA. If they don't have that sap on the Shadow Priest, well, you can just go and dispel it. You know, Shadow Priest here, there's no, you have to mass dispel to get the crowd control. You just walk up and dispel, and your only cost is that mana. So they need to make sure that they can never have Daily and Rudy in crowd control at the same time. If that happens, it's going to be super tough for Pink to stay alive.
Yeah, I mean, we're going into game 2 between HAHAHA and Shadowplay. HAHAHA making quick work of Shadowplay in game number 1. We're looking for something different for Shadowplay. They have to find a way to survive the opener so that they can start getting their damage over time effects rolling. If they can do that, I think they'll look okay here, but they have to survive these really aggressive openers.
Oh, Avizura, he's so close. He gets the sap on the Shadow Priest. Laners and Chaz are rolling up, getting ready for the attack here. They're going after the Warlock once again. They need to get crowd control on Daily. Do they go for an early blind? Laners is in position to try and find a polymorph. Imp CS into polymorph. Beautifully timed. Rudy needs to dispel here into a full blind, trinketing out of the blind. Instant reaction time from the Shadowplay to disrupt the early crowd control. Now they need to bomb in some heals and commit the Bloodlust, but it looks like Bloodlust has actually already been purged off by Chaz, so excellent timing on Chaz here with that power infusion, getting maximum value. The Bloodlust out of the way. The Shaman's already half mana. His Warlock's almost in range to have to life tap. They're going after Laners. They managed to pull out an Ice Block. They're looking a lot more solid in game number 2 so far.
Yeah, we're going to see Pink still not out of the woods yet. Those that exposed armor, and that was just 5 wounds down to 3 right now. Shatter combo connects from Laners. He gets a full sheep here onto Daily. Rudy needs to dispel this one. He gets a fear, but he does get the dispel there in the nick of time. Howl of Terror coming out from Pink now, and this is where the Shadow Play can start to recover here. They got the pressure. They've survived some of those dangerous situations, but Daily still needs to bomb out heals. He's actually going for the purges. Laners not going to be able to access that ice block, but Pink still in a lot of trouble. Can they get the fear here? Daily is in position. Can Chaz find it? Doesn't look like it just now. Zura once again in a fear. Shadow steps over there to Daily. Doesn't use his kick. Daily gonna get 1 heal. Gonna get another heal. Unstable Affliction connecting here. Heals now from the Shadow Priest of Rudy there as well with the shield. And that should be enough here to keep Pink alive. But no! Chaz connects with the double fear. He gets spell lock. Can he survive though? He's first aiding himself. Pink almost going down there in that exchange, but nice spell lock there from Pink. Gonna keep him alive and allow the team of Shadowplay to tie us up here 1-1.
Wow, we got a series on our hand here. I'm kind of wondering, I didn't see exactly what Laners it did use his ice block on. Like, did they actually force the ice block and mass dispel? I mean, I'm sure we'll be able to see it in the replay, but wonder if it was just them taking advantage of the team of HAHAHA playing a little bit too aggressive or what. But one thing's for sure, I mean, with how close that 2 versus 3 was, I mean, if Laners could have just held on a little bit longer, that game was looking like it was theirs to win. So really good job by Shadowplay, able to turn that one around. But Peekaboo, I mean, that's kind of as close as it gets.
Man, I actually can't believe that Shadowplay was able to turn that around. It seems like they'd had a much better opener. They were able to dispel the polymorph onto their Shaman and actually get their defensive cooldowns off. And then, yeah, Laners did decide to ice block. I think it was about right here he decided to use the block. Yeah, so he blocked kind of pretty high health. I'm not sure if that was a mistake or not, but it looks like that's what's going to cost them the game, because Avizura is doing everything he can to try to keep up that 5-stack wound poison versus the poison cleansing totem from the Shaman. And so it was like somewhere right around the point where Laners is just getting rotted down here. Daily caught on that full sheep here, and it looked like Avizura also lands a kick on the Daily. They're in a pretty commanding position, but then right here it starts to turn around and Laners on the back foot, and Chaz just not able to top him up from behind the box because he got kicked into a pre-silence, and I guess the mage got stunned off that as well. Couldn't help span the mana shields, and unfortunately was still in hypothermia for a little bit longer. So yeah, I guess if Laners does an ice block there, I think they probably have that one in the bag. I'm not sure if that was just a miscommunication. Maybe it was a mispress, or I'm not exactly sure, but it looked like they probably were going to win that game if he does a little bit longer there. So
yeah, I would say so. I mean, 2 versus 3 was really, really close.
Yeah.
Laners maybe going to be a little bit more conservative. I didn't actually see how many dots he had on him. He could have been fully loaded up with, UA, corruption, everything imaginable. And Chaz is just saying, hey, you know what, Ice Block, get it off. We'll never know those communications, but we do know we're going to be going to Grand for Game 3. Super Tees, I mean, that was still such a close call for Shadowplay. Is there anything you saw that they could even do better to maybe have a higher chance? I mean, they were able to come back and put a point on the board, but still a really, really close match.
Well, I like when they had the momentum, they rode it, right? All three players were on top of Chaz, Shaman Interrupt, into Shadow Priest Silence, into Warlock Interrupt. I really liked that coordination to just totally remove the Priest from the game, target down the Mage, purge down the Mage, and then use all your crowd control on the Rogue. I think that was a good strategy, so execute on that again. Fear is going to control the Rogue, interrupts into the Mage, purges into the Mage. Try to get Fears into the Priest if you can, but interrupts likely going to be more than enough for that. Survive the opener, make sure the Priest is in line of sight to remove Polymorph. Daily should only be using the Medallion on blind. Maybe HAHAHA tries to reset more for the second blind if they get Medallion on the first one and play for that slightly longer game. Laners, I think, could have been more greedy with the Ice Block, although during that time, almost any point in that push, I was thinking maybe he's going to block. Maybe he didn't want to get too low and get Mass Dispelled on it. It's always a tough decision, especially with how fast these games have been going, but Avizura just jumps right in, sapping the Shadow Priest. Garrote over onto the Warlock. Here comes the Bloodlust from the Shadow play, trying to turn it around, but they're in crowd control. Beautiful cross right now. Rudy can't dispel. Excellent counterspell timing as well from Laners. They are riding the momentum here to try and close it out. 10% remaining health. Clutch heal comes out from Daily into a full blind on the Trinket. Beautiful punish by Avizura. Rudy gets interrupted. Avizura totally owning Shadowplay in game number 3.
That is absolutely devastating. That's what I'm talking about. If we see Daily have to use his Trinket before a blind, I really do feel like it's going to be an automatic loss for them, Zico.
Yeah, it's all about the opener, man. They can't just stack up behind a pillar like this in the opener. They need to send in the Warlock pad, have the Shadow Priest, move up a little bit, try to avoid getting the Shadow Priest sapped. In this game, they got the Hellfire on the Rogue, so they took him out after he got the sap, but just getting that sap is so crucial. And also, again, a mistake from Daily. It's okay that the Shadow Priest got sapped, but as soon as Daily gets crowd controlled as well, it is no longer okay. Here, he had his grounding totem, he had his shock still available, but it is really difficult when a mage has, I think he actually spell stole Bloodlust laners. I'm not sure how he got the sheep so fast. We're going to see it here. He actually goes in. Oh, he has Mind Quickening. No, he has Mind Quickening Gem and the Icy Veins right there, so he gets the sheep out of just a Nova there. And Daily decides to Trinket out very late here. Actually, he gets dispelled and then trinkets the resheep and then gets immediately blinded on his trinket. And honestly, that's the mistake that right there from Daily. I think he had to trust his Shadow Priest there to keep him out of crowd control. This is what we were talking about in game number 1 when we said, yeah, the Shaman is sitting a sheep and he has to get dispelled. This is what happens if you don't sit that sheep. If you try to trinket, you're going to get fully blinded. You're going to get sapped DR or sheeped, or feared as well. It's a very powerful CC.
It certainly is. And I mean, one of the things, too, about the Burning Crusade is we haven't really seen any of the matchups last this long, Peekaboo, but in BC, Blind actually has a 1 minute and 30-second cooldown. So it always is desynced with the Trinket. And I feel like if we do see a match get to the point where the healer doesn't have Trinket for Blind, that's going to be a really rough spot for him to be in.
Yeah, it seems like if you ever get a blind and someone has no trinket, it's 10 seconds long. It's pretty much auto kill. It seems so brutal. That first sheep on a daily, it seems really hard to even avoid it because Chaz is also running in. And if Chaz is on top of you, he can easily triple fear your entire team. So I can't imagine what Global's daily is really trying to rotate through. He's got Tremor, Grounding. Maybe he can try to Ghost Wolf out, and he's got a kick. So and the sheep cast literally looks like it's less than half a second. It's virtually instant. And that first sheep, if that first sheep doesn't get dispelled, even trying to sit through it and heal through the damage seems hard because Chaz is probably running in and killing the poison cleansing totem as well. So the wounds are already stacked up, and it seems really hard to actually recover from that. It seems like you guys all have been saying, the opener just needs to be a lot cleaner for Shadowplay like it was on the Ruins game, where they were able to, dispel that first polymorph. If they got the NS off early enough, they're able to somehow get some damage off and actually get any form of counter pressure, because without the counter pressure, the RMP is just going to stand right on top of you and pretty much just walk you down.
Yeah. And I mean, so far we haven't seen any teams really multi-classing, which is a bit different than what we're used to. All of these teams playing kind of unique compositions, and they have no choice but to just stick to the classes that they know and the composition that they've really prepared. So easy lock in Rogue Mage Priest once again. Shadowplay, they're going to be locking in the Shadowplay, going back to Ruins of Lordaeron. Do you feel like you said this map is going to be enough for them to come back into the series?
It might be for them. I almost wonder if they should just respec into Soul Link. just play SLSL Warlock and last a little bit longer. Like if they just live the MCS, it seems like if they get a sap, it's always into an MCS and a polymorph on the shaman, so they can't dispel it. So the Warlock is comfortable for even maybe an extra second or extra 2 seconds, then they safely sit the poly, dispel it, and then they can play from there. I'm not sure if it would be as big of a loss to just not have Unstable Affliction and focus more on defense for their talents. I think it's unlikely they changed them with how fast they locked it in. They're probably just going to keep playing the same thing, but I do wonder how it would play out if they focused on a little bit more defense. Maybe the Warlock wouldn't be the target, but maybe that's better. The Warlock has a lot more disruption than the Shadow Priest at least does in the initial stages, but it's all about that first crowd control. It seems like if they get a sap on the Shadow Priest, then it needs to be all hands on deck to protect Daily from the polymorph. So maybe Grounding Totem should be a first priority. It seems like Daily's first priority is getting Bloodlust up, but it's like his Shadow Priest is in a sap, he's going to get polyed, and his Warlock is dead. So it doesn't seem like the highest value time to Bloodlust right off the bat.
I kind of wonder what it would be like if Rudy just decided to Trinket Sap. Like if he gets blinded, I mean, at least there's no blind for
That's
Daily,
true.
and maybe they could survive that way. So maybe there's some adaptations they can make. And one thing I also wanted to say, this matchup is looking really one-sided, but Shadowplay, if they can live long enough for the Howl of Terrors and Instant Psychic Streams to sit, that's when they really start developing momentum. But that initial pressure is just so much to deal with, Zico.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, here I kind of want to just see Pink send his pet in, but don't send it all the way in. Just keep sending it back and forth in the kind of midfield there between the tomb and the enemy starting room, and position maybe a little bit further back. I'm going to see they're actually going to open on Pink. They get the sap onto Rudy. No crowd control onto Daily here, so he's bombing out heal. I actually want to see him just go for the NS. Laners blocks offensive. That's just going to be the game over here potentially. One more second for Daily. He gets the NS off. Big heals coming out, but he gets blinded. He trinkets out. Do they have a shadow step kick? Avizura finds it, and that should be the game right there. And that is those split-second decisions we were talking about. I said it as well. As soon as we saw that pressure come out, Daily has to go for the NS right there. It's very obvious what Laner wants to do there. He wants to go for the counterspell. If they land it, well, they're just going to win the game. And of course, Avizura is there as well with the step kick. So he sits through the first counterspell, and he goes for the NS, and then he goes for the second heal. But it's just not going to be enough there because you fell so far behind. Whereas if you NS the Warlock, well, he gets a chance to actually start playing more aggressive, and you don't have to worry. If I get kicked, this guy's going to die. You have a little bit more wiggle room to work with, give yourself a bit more time to actually go for fake casts. So, yeah, one wrong split-second decision by the healer, and it's going to be instantly the game.
Wow. And we've been saying it all day. Those split-second decisions really can dictate the pacing of the match. I mean, Peekaboo, you can walk us through this replay. This is definitely an impressive performance by HAHAHA.
This was just a brutal start to this game. Avizura just kind of waiting for his right moment to want to commit to getting the sap onto Rudy here, waiting for his team. His team's waiting for the sap, and then once the sap lands, they will start running in. Same opener, it seems like it's happened every single game, just sap onto the Priest. Even with the Hellfire knock shot, he goes for the Vanish Garrote, puts up that quick expose. They opt for no early blind onto Daily, and then Laners lands a massive blink counter spell onto Daily, and it just set everything up. That was ridiculous angle on that, actually. That was crazy. Yeah. And then off that full counter spell, Daily does get the NS, blind from Avizura right in the middle of the cast to shut him down, force the trinket, lands the step kick, and it's just over. Like there's just nothing they can do at that point. That was like the most insane angle in the Blink CS too. It was that was a lot of knowing how far you're going to blink to get that.